Welcome to the Industry Insider, brought to you by PROMOCORNER. Each week, promotional product professionals Meg Erber, Jeff Franklin, and Stephen McFadden, along with special guests, will discuss industry news, trends, and events with a focus on educating the promotional products industry. The Industry Insider, the nerdy news you need to know.
Welcome back to another episode of the Industry Insider, your promotional products podcast where you can get all the nerdy news you need to know about. My name is Jeff Franklin, National Accounts Manager with Headwear USA, and I'm joined today by three other lovely folks, one in particular that I'm very fond of. But look, before we get to them, I'm going to tell you guys today about our awesome sponsors, our friends over at TechWeld. Look, when you're thinking about promotional items, stellar customer service, made in the USA products and business solutions, you got to think TechWeld. They're an award-winning promotional product supplier, having received the Distributor Choice Award in the sunglass category and the SAGNY Supplier of the Year Award. Check them out at techweld.com and find the customer service you deserve and the products you need. Think TechWeld, especially acrylic awards. They've got some custom acrylic award pieces, awards, phone stands, keychains, etc. They both stock and custom. So, it's sort of that time of the year where, maybe we're looking at, some end of the year award kind of ceremonies and things like that. So think, guys. Their acrylic line focuses on different kinds of items, like the items mentioned previously, phone stands, awards, and keychains. They could make a great piece to promote incentive programs and promote professionalism at a reasonable cost. Remember to think TechWeld for your promotional product needs. TechWeld is a leading supplier of promotional items with a huge inventory of made in the USA items available to help distributors grow their bottom line today. Visit techweld.com. That's TEKWELD.com, and check out their drinkware, sanitizer kit options, and much, much more. Why don't we say hey to Meg Erber?
Erber. I watched that video again today. I thought it was funny.
Awesome.
So I'm going to speak on behalf of the entire city of Philadelphia and surrounding suburbs. We are all on a collective week-long bender from winning the national whatever. Everyone is so excited. All the feedback. But we are just so excited. Last night, this is a pre-recorded episode. Last night we watched them clinch, and just so excited because go Philly. How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing all right, thank you. How about, just coming off of Promotions East, wonderful show. I know there was a bit of a broken link, I think, for the live show that we did, but I think it's up and running in full force now. So definitely go check it out if you didn't have a chance to watch that episode. It was actually really fun to do. Stephen, you're looking very colorful today, man. What's going on?
I just wanted to wear more colors than our special guest. So I was like, how can I do that? The only thing I can do is to go grab this rip. No, I'm actually traveling this week. I'm actually here in Texas for the PPEF executive meeting. So I'm excited to experience this and learn along the way and wear this fancy robe that's in the hotel because why not? So
I heard you're gonna bring one home. Take one home.
I think it would not make it inside if it got that far. So this is maybe it's coming back. I don't know. Maybe I'll make a trend of it.
I mean, I think it's very snazzy. Yeah.
They said business casual. I think this might be pushing the limits, but I will. We'll see what happens.
There's a logo on it. So.
Oh yeah, it's supporting the promotional products industry. So.
Promotional products work.
That's right.
There you go. All right, well, we've got an exciting episode today. We've got my lovely wife, Eliana, on the podcast with us today. And we're going to talk about LDW, right? Leadership Development Workshop, the PPAI hosts. And we're basically going to talk about all the wonderful things that came out of LDW. But Eliana, it is customary for us to give our special guest a good 3 to 4 minutes to introduce themselves. So I know you've been on before, but maybe people don't know who you are. So why don't you tell the fine folks listening, maybe how you got started in the commercial products industry and what you've been up to since.
Well, I got started because of Jeff Franklin and Dana Geiger. She was the ED for CI back in the day, and Jeff and Dana became pretty good friends. And one day I was like, I'm tired of working so long, these crazy hours in the office in the medical field. And she kind of convinced my husband without trying even to convince him to get me into the industry. So here I am now, a few years later, loving what I do. I'm the executive director for CAAMP and PMANC. I could not be happier with what I do in my boards. And right now I'm also one of the EDs that represents one of the districts. I represent District 2 for RRC, which is the Regional Relationship Committee, who used to be RAC. Now RAC is dissolved now. So we have a few EDs. I'm one of the ones that represents in that committee.
I always think you guys are talking about Hunger Games when we start talking about districts.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what it is, isn't it?
Hunger Games.
Exactly.
All right.
Like
So obviously, Leadership Development Workshop is a place that's near and dear to my heart. I really have enjoyed the times that I've been able to go through my volunteerism with the regionals. And it's just a great event, or at least it has been in the past. And so I'm kind of excited because, obviously the last couple of years, they've kind of transitioned to a virtual format. But this year they've gone back to the physical in-person event. So just kind of trying to figure out, what's different. Like, Eliana, you were able to attend, I think, one time before the pandemic. And then, of course, we had the virtual events, and now we're back to in person. So just maybe you can give us a little bit of background as far as like your experience with LDW since you've gone now, I think, 4 years?
Well, I wouldn't even count the last two because they were not in person. So you didn't really have that feeling. You didn't leave the way you left. Like in 2019, I left with like this many papers. I'm old fashioned, so I take notes. I don't do my computer as much. And I just wanted to change the world. I had all these ideas, and same thing with the board members. For this time around, it was a little different. I didn't just focus on one board. I had two boards. So it was a little different for me. I was a little bit more nervous coming in, and we didn't really know what to expect because it's been a while since. And when RAC dissolved and then it became RRC, so things are still really fresh with RRC. So we didn't really know what to expect. We didn't know. And also, this is just me speaking. Dana wasn't going to be part of it. So for me, I was like, we're going to be missing that Dana's touch. She has such a attention to detail that I was kind of nervous about what was to come. But I attended. I mean, we had a really good speaker who is a psychologist who talked. His name was Jason Jones. He talked to us about how to build the teamwork, and it was a pretty good educational session. It kind of started the whole LDW, bumped us up. We were all excited about what was to come to become the best team within our regional, and then all coming all together to be a bigger team. So, I mean, you gave me a really broad question. I can go on and on and on.
Put him in his place. That's right.
Yeah,
Would you be able to just quickly just kind of go over like what the goal of LDW is, who's invited, just to kind of give people kind of a heads up about who's there and what the goal of it is?
So LDW is all of the regionals are invited. So we all get, this year we got 3 spots, 1 the ED and 2 board members. And then if you did other steps, then you can get a 4th person. So PPAI, they pay for our hotel, our food. We get tons of food. And then we, as regionals, we pay for our flight and anything else that we do outside the hotel. So all the regionals are presented. They bring their board members. And once you're there, they divide us all into different sessions. They cover different things, whether it is membership, trade shows, technology, everything you can think of on every committee. So then you try to divide us and conquer. So everybody does different sessions, and then you come at the end and come together and collectively bring all the information to your board and then towards your strategic planning for the next year. So sometimes one of the things, and this, you didn't ask me this, but I'll tell you, some of the things is because it's held in October. Sometimes at that time, you still don't know who's going to be your board member for next year. And you do want to bring on your treasurer or your whomever might be, right? So I was lucky enough that we did have our incoming treasurer participate. But sometimes some people, they're just learning what they should have learned at the beginning of the year. So they can't really engage as well. So one of the things that was a big talk at the end, and I can say this, but at the RRC meeting, they did discuss that they were going to look into a different way of doing this so everybody can attend with their new board members so they can learn before they jump into the actual role.
Question. So I think we can kind of stem from this because I want to do like a pro and a con. Give me one pro and one con takeaway, and then let's build off of that. Because I think there's a lot that was, I used to go and I loved it so much because like I said, you leave there and you want to change the world. You get all these good ideas. You get this, plethora of speakers from inside and outside the industry. And again, we preach over and over again that COVID gave us this opportunity to change things, right? So we don't have to go back to the way things were. But a lot of us feel that safety in consistency and same old. So it was different. That's great. It was kind of the same, also good. But give us like two takeaways, a good takeaway, and then something that you would like to see changed.
I can give you a couple really good ones. I don't think I could choose one. There was a lot of good things. So, number one is just meeting in person with your board members who you technically never really have a chance to have if you are in a different state like myself. I don't get to just go out and have dinner with them and see who they really are besides this, like Zoom meetings and trade shows, and we're running around like crazy. So that's my number one. You get to know who you're going to be working with, and then that makes it easier as an ED. Sometimes you have to say the hard things and you put in the middle on things that you don't know how to talk to that person because you don't know them in a specific way. So I met with my incoming president for next year, who I didn't really know well. So now after meeting with her and having, a couple drinks with her and riding to the airport, now it's like, okay, now I can see she's really cool. I can see myself telling her very direct on maybe you shouldn't handle this way, maybe you should handle it that way based on our bylaws, right? So that's number one, getting to know your board members in a different personal level. Your EDs, connecting with them, becoming friends with them, because that is our support system. Anytime I have a problem, guess who I ask? I ask the EDs. I don't know who else to ask, right? And I have to say this, I love Bud McLean. He is leaving PPI, but I was just so honored to give him a hug and say thank you, because in our personal level, he was one of the big reasons why CAAMP is still around. He's amazing. I want to cry. He's leaving. Like, I missed him so much already.
Who was it? I missed it. Who?
Bud McLean.
Bob. Oh, yeah, we love Bob.
So I just love just giving him a big hug, because I said bye to him 100 times on email, but it wasn't the same as just to see him again. Yeah. So I think those are my highlights, and I know they're not on an educational level, but the education session builds into everything that we just did. Because we can connect, all the ideas can connect and go on what the highlights were and how we can make it better and how we can help each other. And things that I think could be improved. Thanks, Meg. Well, number one, I think we used to be, for the dinner that we did when we presented the awards for like the volunteer of the year, which this year was Thea Bruce. I think that one could have been a little bit better. There was just one aspect of the whole event we could have probably done a little more. There's so many other people that help that could have been recognized. I think that if you're already there, you could utilize that time to do something more to connect everybody a little bit more, rather than just eat and then go. I know there was a little bit of unhappiness there because we had our karaoke night, and usually you have a winner. This time people got their outfits and did all this like awesome stuff, and no one got awarded. So there was some disconnect on that.
Oh,
And
done.
you know,
Get it. No winners.
yeah, no winners. Yeah, we're
That's
just like,
fine.
wait
The
a
new
minute.
millennial, like everyone's a winner thing, right? Isn't that what it was?
Yeah, but no,
Hard.
that was I think that was a big. People were pretty upset about that, and I'm not gonna deny it. But I was rooting for a specific person. I was like, when are they gonna ask us who's gonna win? So then, and this is just me because I'm a vegan, so I was so hungry because there was not a lot of vegan options. So I came home and I'm like eating everything. And I'm like, why am I so hungry? I'm like, wait, because I ate like this little salad the whole time. But that is just me. Everybody else was like probably 5 pounds, bigger by the time they left. So it might be a good thing for me. Then maybe connecting. Sorry, another one thing that I can think of is maybe connecting with the regionals prior to just kind of soften any miscommunication, anything like that, because as having a voice with the EDs at the RRC committee now, it does represent us having a voice within PPAI. So that could be a very good thing for us as regionals to have a voice, so we can all not feel like we're at like a transaction, but we're also like a partner. So that could be something that could be beneficial, so there's no miscommunication.
So real quick, Jeff, and I'll let you talk, but did you guys notice what her number one takeaway was? You guys remember? It was something that we've always just taken for granted. She was like, it was so good to connect with your board members and the EDs and all that stuff. And that's something prior to COVID, or really before the industry and the regional started changing. It was just I was on 2 boards, and every single board meeting was in person, which is insane now. And we take that for granted. So maybe that's just something to think about, because I'm wondering now if that had any reflection, maybe direct reflection on the overall outcome, because of that those relationships weren't there to begin with, right? That solid, maybe that's the beginning of the end of regionals, maybe the relationship aspect of it. I'm just thinking out loud. So what I'm saying is not word. I'm just, talking about our pre-conversation and then just your number one thing. I just think that's really interesting. That's all. Go ahead, Jeff and Steven.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, that's as far as the awards dinner thing. I think that's always kind of been that way, even pre-COVID.
Yeah,
but I agree to your point. There would definitely be some additional ways to sort of spruik that up a little bit. The fact that you had mentioned that they only allowed 3 people from each regional, that's sort of been almost cut in half. And the other thing, because I'm still on the board for CPPA, this is my last year. I roll off at the end of December. But just kind of getting all that feedback from the board meetings and things like that as well. Like, before, CPPA has actually like paid to take our entire board. So before, you actually had the option, if you wanted to bring additional members, it was X amount of cost. And, I'm sure there was no additional cost to PPAI, or maybe there was, I don't know, because the cost was pretty steep for each additional person that we wanted to bring, but we had that option. They weren't even allowing that this year, which is kind of a disappointing thing, because it's a way for us at CPPA, at least, to really reconnect in person with the entire group. Yeah. Like Eliana, to what you said, divide and conquer, so everybody gets to basically touch all the classes as much as possible, and then come back, reconvene, and do like a strategic planning almost immediately after LDW. But the other thing that I will say, that you mentioned, LDW for me as an incoming president was absolutely pivotal, because having that time, and there was actually a planned session, at least back then. I don't know if there still was or not, but there was a planned session where the president and the executive director for each regional association got to sit down together, go over their goals, go over communication habits and things like that, and really hash out how the next year was going to go. I mean, for me, that was pivotal, to be able to have that open conversation with the executive director to talk about how we wanted to communicate, what our goals were, how we were going to achieve them, the timelines, that sort of thing. And it was all sort of covered by or sort of supported by PPAI, having the guideline and being able to bounce things off of other executive directors and presidents. It was huge. So I think you were sort of shaking your head that wasn't.
Yeah, no, that was missing, and that was one of the things that I should have mentioned. We did not get that chance to do that this year, and because I knew that was a thing before my incoming president and I, before our flights, we had a little bit of a snack, and we talked a lot about our personal stuff, just to get to connect with each other even more. But then we also talked about plans, and then we just had like a Zoom meeting to plan ahead for the next year so we can have our strategic planning. So having heard in there and go through everything that we did led to that, but that was missing. That would have been something that, having a guideline to follow and ask the specific questions, that would have been super helpful.
I'm thinking about just the regionals in general, and they're massive. Like some of the regionals, like you may not see people in person that you serve with the exception of being digital. So, this is a cool opportunity. And as Jeff mentioned, being able to have more people would have been better. But how would you say was there a lot of intermingling of different regions too? Because I imagine there's best practices kind of that other people have that, can benefit other regions, right? Is there kind of that opportunity at least to mingle at the event, to figure out who does what, or is that more on the free time, I guess, during the socials and stuff?
That's more on the free time. Sorry, I'm shaking. I'm super cold. I just got so cold.
You can borrow this robe. I can mail it.
Okay, yeah. I'll take it. So no, we didn't really get a chance to do that. We kind of broke the rules a little bit ourselves, because we were, in certain occasions, we were told to sit by district, but we kind of said, no, let me just sit here. And I know that in one breakfast we sat with like Bapa, and the other breakfast we sat with like Trasa. So we kind of mingle ourselves a little bit, but there was a specific, actually, no, now that I mentioned, yes, we did have a breakout. They give you a random number, and then you were supposed to sit on a round table and discuss on a specific topic. Now, it wasn't specific to just talk to other regionals about what's specific to everyone, but at least you got to talk to other people, get to know who's on what board and what ideas they have. So I know I wrote down a couple numbers and a couple emails so I can be like, oh, about this, let me connect with you about this. So that would have been a really good idea. I think I should probably said, hey, somebody I know said this. Let's do it next year.
One of the things I always take away, at whether it be like a buying group meeting or some of those, like they can bring all the keynotes they want, but it's always those like board meeting type meetings where it's all of the owners kind of together discussing best practices and challenges, and it's like it's crazy. You get way more out of that than you do in 6 hours of really good meetings, right? But it's like, all right, you can talk about the stuff that you actually have challenges on and kind of dive into them. And how are you handling that over here? And how are you handling that over here? And you just naturally come up with great ideas and solutions.
So we did have, and I didn't really mention this because I'm kind of conflicted on how I feel about it. That's why I mentioned it. But since you mentioned it, I will give them. I will talk about it. We usually have before everybody arrives, the EDs. We are provided an area, and we're provided somebody to go over education specifically to the EDs. So in the past, we've had people that lead the conversation and had a presentation, and we learned so much from them. Now this year, it wasn't like that. It was kind of, I don't want to say an afterthought. It was more like, okay, we have to do it, so here it is, have a room. So again, McLean kind of saved the day, and he led the conversation, had great insight of how we should do things. But he knows a lot about this topic. So there's other topics that we didn't get to talk about because we focus on a specific, the financials and all that, which are very important. I'm not taking away from that. But as an ED, I would have loved to have what we used to have. In 2019, I think that session alone gave me a lot of how I need to be as an ED. And I've been using that knowledge in the last 3-4 years. So that I think could have been a little bit better. And I know that we did tell that to Dell, when Dell is gonna, work on that. So he did say that he will work on that. So we're at least he promised he'll work on it.
Overall, though, I think everyone's excited to be back in person, though. So that's
yes.
a huge step in the right direction, and I think we're all learning how to event again. So,
well, that was definitely the consensus from Promotions East as well, Meg. Wouldn't you say? Like, people were just super thrilled to be back in person.
So excited to be back in person, and then like as soon as it was over, I already had my list of things because nothing was bad, but you're like, oh, now that I've seen how this is work, I can just and it'll be better. So I was already putting my thoughts and emails together. So I guess I have one last question for you. Seeing how this, there's definitely room for improvement. What does the future of LDW look like? I mean, look in your crystal ball. Is there going to be another one next year? Is there going to be one 5 years down the road, or is this going to be it, you think?
I do see one. I do see more coming. I do. Maybe we're not going to get back to where it used to be, because thinking of it as a business decision, we want to be very realistic. And if PPAI suffers through 2020 like everybody else did, they probably have other things that are more important in the line before spending a certain amount of money on us. So if they see it as an expense, maybe not. But if they see it as an investment, then yes, I can see them coming in the future. Maybe not as big as it used to be. Maybe something like we just had, and we just as regional understand that is what we're going to get, and we just work towards becoming more of a partner, and then we can work together, and maybe we would even host them in different areas to make sure things are cheaper for other regionals to get there, because the regionals are in one side. To get to Texas is more expensive than the ones that are in Texas. So there will be more solutions. I know that, and I always say this wrong, but Jeff, help me with the last name.
Diesroth.
Yes, he has really good ideas. He's a chair of RC, so I'm sure that him, Dale, and the other EDs, all of them, not just the ones in the committee, will come out with really good ways to make it happen, because I think LDW is the livelihood of the education part of the regionals. I do believe that 100%.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, and you really hit the nail on the head. If they look at it as an expense, then it'll probably go away. But if they look at it as an investment, it can become more of a revenue generator. And I think that's the way we need to look at these opportunities. And I always refer back to this, but I did women's leadership development, whatever, back when it was virtual as well. And Joanne Lance was the keynote. And the thing that she said was invest in yourself, invest in yourself, invest in yourself. And that's what I've been doing. And I feel like now they need to go back and kind of take their own advice, because it's really important. It's really important for the longevity of our industry, for the people, for the newer faces that are coming in. I feel like I grew so much professionally and personally after going to these workshops. I think we need them. I think they're very important for the industry, important for the new people coming in, and important for people like you who really love their job. Like, that's hard to find. We're going to take the wind out of those sails, and I feel like we need to do better and make the next one like kick ass. Yeah.
I'm going to be like ultra critical of PPAI right now, because I feel like, and look, it's super easy for somebody on the outside that doesn't know the financials, that doesn't know the ins and outs of every board meeting. And I mean, we've had Danny Rosen on, who I think was the chair of the board in 2020, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe immediate past or something. But, he was one of the ones that was on the call every week when they were doing those PPAI board meetings. I mean, it was crazy. So I can, I'm on the outside looking in, but from my perspective, and maybe it's just optics or whatever, but it seems like ever since they did all the cutbacks at PPAI with the staff and Dana Geiger in particular, regional relations have sort of gone downhill from my perspective. Of course, the virtual thing is what it is. Everything was virtual, so you can't do anything about that. But it just seems like the communications, what they're doing with, RAC versus RRC or RAC now RRC, the communications there, and just sort of, I guess we're all still trying to figure out like where everything lies, you know? So look, Dale's an extremely smart guy, and I'm sure he's looking at everything from, like you said, Eliana, from a business perspective, you know, because ultimately PPAI is a business, it's a nonprofit, but, you know, they've got to make sure that they survive and thrive. So they're going to make whatever decisions they have to make, but it just seems like, you know, whatever the genesis of that partnership was between PPAI and the regionals, it seems like that's kind of been lost. And, you know, hopefully we kind of rediscover that, because I think that partnership is hugely beneficial. And me being a big advocate for the regionals, I think it's huge. You know, and I do understand that it's a big investment on PPAI's side. So, you know, that's not lost on me. But I just feel like, you know, things have been better in the past, and I hope it just continues to get better from where we are now. So cool. All right, Steven, you have any further questions?
No,
or comments?
I'm actually, I know that doesn't relate, but I am curious to see kind of how our meetings go over the next couple of days as well, given that I'm also now at a PPAI event shortly thereafter. So I haven't been through something like this yet before, and excited to experience it. And I might have follow-up questions on a different episode. So I know that won't help you, but it is interesting to see how they all kind of intermingle and figure out, like you said, the health of the different organizations, the regionals, the committees, the groups. I mean, there's a lot of different pieces that PPAI is looking after, and just to kind of see how that all unfolds is I'm intrigued. So we'll see.
Yeah. Meg, any closing statements?
I need all the Phillies fans to blow this comment section up.
You got Phillies and Eagles. You guys are having a good sports state right now.
Yeah.
I mean, have the Eagles played anybody yet, though? Like,
whatever. I don't even watch football. I don't even care.
I'm trying to say something nice, okay, Jeff?
All right, let's just go Phillies. All right.
Honestly, like, outside of the Bills, I don't even know if there's anybody that's playing football this year.
It's a weird year.
It's a super weird year. There's like very few teams that are like that have a really like high win ratio. Like, it's honestly the Eagles are what, 6-0.
Yeah, they aren't the Eagles, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, who have you played? The Cowboys don't count. You know, that was your most recent win. Okay. All right. So anyhow, we're boring people and we're losing audience by talking football. My wife included.
Yeah, I get bored with that.
All right. Well, anyhow, if you guys enjoyed the podcast, it was brought to you by our good friends over at TechWeld. They've got some really awesome kit options, and I don't know if you guys are aware of this or not. But they've got this whole initiative, you know, this Come Kit Around With Us. They've got 8 different stock packaging for their kits. They've got an EVA bag, a PVC tent pouch, PVC tube, an organza bag, the pillow pouch, the BTL 202, which is a 30-ounce tumbler, and those awesome retro lunch boxes that I'm a huge advocate and fan of. Look, not many players in the industry are focusing too heavily on kits, which allows them to really hone in on the market and for those products and really expand upon their already vast kit line. So look, remember that you got to think TechWeld for your promotional product needs. TechWeld's the leading supplier of promotional products with a huge inventory of made in the USA items available to help distributors grow their bottom line today. Visit techweld.com, TEKWELD.com, and check out their drinkware, sanitizer kits, kit options, and much, much more. And tell them the Industry Insider sent you. Eliana, I love having you on the podcast, and I'll see you in like 30 seconds.
Yeah. Well, Meg, thank you so much for my hoodie.
Oh, I'm glad you liked
I had
it.
such a FOMO the whole time. I was like, I want to go.
Oh,
thank you.
Next year.
Yeah. Hey, also, I don't know if we should mention this or not, but you've got 2 40 under 40s on this podcast right now.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
I barely made it.
That girl down there and me right here, you know, 40 under 40. Steven's not very happy with us right now.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you got the nomination for Rising Star. That's all I can do.
Always a bridesmaid. You know, it's okay.
Fair enough. All right, guys. Well, look, I had a blast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Promo Corner's Industry Insider. For more great content from industry thought leaders, including podcasts, blogs, and videos, visit promocorner.com.